Why being upfront with your customers really pays off. I'm joined today by Mickeli Bedore. He's a co-founder at Closers Media and host of Coffee&Closers podcast. He helps entrepreneurs and those new to sales close big deals faster. We're going to talk about how Mickeli has gone from selling frozen pizzas to getting into real, big value, high ticket deal selling. We're going to talk about why being upfront with your customers, setting upfront contracts is a great way to make best use of your time and theirs. How to uncover their budget, how to uncover their pain points, and how to qualify in or qualify out fast. We're going to talk about how to sell even if you hate selling, and we're going to be talking about how sales can be great to anyone. Plus, Mickeli is going to share how he scaled up his own business and much, much more. Let's roll the intro and get into it. Welcome to Sam's Business Growth Show. I'm Sam Dunning, a digital marketing, sales, and business growth evangelist. Tune in and subscribe today as I'll be interviewing business leaders, experts, and entrepreneurs from around the globe. You'll be learning their story, how digital marketing has helped them along the way, and exclusive tips and insights to help you skyrocket your own business. I'm excited to be joined by Mickeli Bedore today. Mickeli, how's it going, man?
It's going awesome. How you doing, Sam?
Yeah, doing well. Excited to chat through with yourself, learn from you, learn all things in terms of highlights of your story, so some of the key places you've worked at, and some actionable tips for our audience today in terms of sales, in terms of business, and in terms of marketing. And then I'm excited to, as we just chatted about before we started recording, I know you've fairly recently gone all into your business Closers Media. So I'd love to get into some tasty bits in terms of how you've scaled that up, how you've grown it recently. But yeah, if we could start off with a bit more background on you, Mickeli, and learn how you got into the world of business and sales. And let's go from there, man.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to start with sales before business, because all the businesses we've launched have been funded by the sales and our sales, in my sales career in particular. Yeah, sales for me has always, sales to me is, I'm passionate about it because it's always been my way. It was my way out and then my way up. Do you know what I mean? So I grew up in a small town. I mean, really small. Like, I don't even know if there was 2,000 people. And it was before the internet. So it was if you weren't a straight A student, you weren't going to get into college, was the assumption, right? So if you weren't going to get into college, you weren't going to get a good job. And if you weren't going to get a good job, there was like 4 things that we all thought we could do, which I was good at none of. And so my first sales job was selling frozen pizzas in a market, cooking them up and trying to get you to buy them. And I was about 14 or 15. My uncle gave me the shot, taught me how to do it. And we ended up selling a lot of pizzas. And what I found about it is I liked the way it made me feel. It was natural. Do you know what I mean? It was natural. It was fun. And it was fun because it was easy. And I wasn't really good at a lot of things back then, other than writing music and, staying out late. So, it taught me that. And then from there on, it was, selling books door to door in Appalachia, Ohio. So I got to go and travel for a summer, and then New York City for a gig, then Philly, then Denver with Verizon. And it kind of took me all over the country, at least, and has provided a really good life for us. So I love sales, and it's always been my ally. You know what I mean? It's allowed us to do some great things.
Yeah, sure. So started off selling frozen pizzas, and you said you kind of liked the experience it gave you. Did you say a warm feeling? What was it about it you liked? Just it came naturally, or?
Well, it felt good to win. And let me be very clear. This is where Closers Media, this is why we've went all in on the conversion to close side, because a good sale, a good deal, that is the win where everyone feels like they walked away with something. You know what I mean? Everyone feels like they got away with something. But I liked the win for them. And as I advanced my career and the ticket items got bigger and bigger, especially in enterprise software sales, I loved the way that it made me feel, because I personally felt like, well, we just accomplished something. Our team and your team just accomplished something, and you're going to love the solve that I've just sold you. And I'm here to support you in any way. I just love the mutual win. I don't know how to describe it any better.
Got it. Kind of, it sounds like delivering value, making sure you're getting something out of it. Obviously, the customer's happy, they're giving you their money, and then they're getting a product that they're pleased with.
Well, Yeah, I mean, the thing about sales that I really am attracted to, other than the lifestyle that it gave me, but you get to a certain point when you can only win so many awards, you can only make so much money. You know what I mean? And you got to reflect back on, why do we even do this? And the reason why I do it is, to me, the best salespeople that I've ever come across, ever worked with, they're great listeners. They're empathetic. They actually do care. And they really want to help, like genuinely want to help you, right? And they have something that they believe with all of their heart can help you, right? And then they make promises to you, and they keep those promises. And then when the close comes, if quotations, because again, all the close is a result of just keeping your promises, everybody feels like they won something. I mean, think about that. That's just good human skills. That's just like basic good human skills: listening, wanting to help, doing so, and keeping your promises. And that's why we've kind of done what we've done with closers, is because we want to empower everybody to have those skills. I think the world would be a better place. What about
Love
politics? You think, instead of bickering with each other, what if both sides were empathetic and listening, and we're working to come to a mutual resolve? That would be great and refreshing.
That's it. We could easily make this a whole different show, but we'll leave it there. But that's some great points. I mean, like you say, it comes down to being ethical in terms of what you're selling, genuinely wanting to help the people you talk to. And I completely agree. I've tried it before. I've sold products that I haven't actually been invested in, let's say. And in my opinion, you don't always need to be invested in necessarily the product itself, but more the solution or the end result that it achieves for your customer. And if you're not invested in that, then I think you should move to something you probably are. And I guess you'd agree with me on that.
I 100%.
Cool. Okay. So from pizzas to, did you say selling books was the next thing for yourself?
Yeah. So in college, I paid for a majority of my college. I was the first kid in our family to go to college. First kid in our entire extended family, I should say. We were Italian, so we had a lot of cousins. And so I had a chance to go live in Columbus, Ohio, which I hadn't left, the tri-state area for forever, which is crazy to think. But anyway, got to go and live in a new place, got to go to Nashville, got trained up, and got to work with college kids and go door to door selling books in Appalachia, Ohio. I don't know if you know where that's at, Sam, but that's like, those banjo movies. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
With like dogs, and I got bit by dogs. I got guns. It was wild. It was wild. But I got my first President's Club. I got to go to the got to go to the Cayman Islands for club. And It taught me a ton about sales. And I thought, man, if I can do this, I think I could do this in any environment, So it gave me that boost of confidence.
I can imagine that's pretty much being like thrown in at the deep end, door-to-door selling. So it'd be good to learn some of the lessons that you picked up there and how you managed to work your way up to President's Club.
Yeah, well, I mean, they literally you go get trained, and then they give you your assignment. So you go to wherever they assign you, and then which is nowhere near your house. That's part of the program, to get you out, and then you go find your own house, your own place to live. You manage your own, account, your spreadsheet, and it's wild, for a 19-year-old kid. That's pretty heavy. So.
It is, man. So what were you doing differently to everyone else to achieve that target and to work your way to President's Club?
What I learned in that gig was the value of knowing where every minute that you have. People say maximize your day, live in the moment. Well, for a lot of the metrics that would get you to club weren't just wins. It was also activity, and it was an honor system. So I could have cheated, but I didn't. And it really. It taught me the discipline of time management. It taught me the value in scripts and repetition. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And how to kind of intersect both. And then once you get that muscle memory down, once you have those two things dialed down, like consistent activity and kind of a muscle memory type of script, the rebuttals start getting slower. You know what I mean? You start hearing the no before they're said, so you can think and then respond. And once those two things merge, I was like, that was the first time it hit me like, holy smokes, like I can be really good at this, because that introduced my first system. And
I was going to say, it sounds like you built a selling system at that stage. Yeah, absolutely.
And systematic selling is that's how I've been successful. I can't speak for everyone watching this show, but for me, it's been great, because then I can be myself. Did
I hear right on a previous podcast that you're following Sandler?
Yes. Been training Sandler twice at
Amen.
When I was at Verizon. No, 3 times. I think I got Verizon, Concur, and Oracle. I think I got trained in Sandler. I absolutely love Sandler. It is one of my favorite training platforms for sure.
Cool. No, same here. Definitely something that I'd recommend to anyone tuning in, looking into. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar. One of the best books I've ever read. I recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, amen. That's great.
Awesome, dude. Cool. So that's timing, scripts and repetition, and then putting in the activity consistently to achieve those results and following a system. That makes perfect sense, dude. Okay, so moving forward, I know you've done quite a bit of enterprise selling. So are there any positions that you'd like to share with us that have got some nice actionable tips, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, or whether it's just business lessons in general that would be of value to everyone tuning in?
Yeah, I think the biggest, so my experience with Oracle and IBM,
Sure.
and it started with Concur, but those gigs in particular, I was brought in to turn territories over. So
Okay.
I lived in Manhattan for a while and out of school, and I was never taught basic finance or compound interest. So I racked up a little bit of credit card debt, had a hell of a good time. Needed to pay that off. And so what I found was the commission stack, like the commission set for underperforming territories, you know what I mean? Or like geopaths that just somebody churned through, drained the swamp and moved on. Well, they pay people more for that because, good luck. And so I found a real neat groove in taking those underperforming territories and turning them into profit centers, which is then why I won that's why I won all those other President's Club awards, because the metrics were kind of low. So if you did succeed, you blew it out of the water. If you didn't, well, then you're fired. So there was that. But I was able to create kind of a little system to find the chink in the armor. You know what I mean? To find where's the quickest path to revenue? Like what's in between the lines? Like we're playing within the rules, right? But it's sales, it's war, right? And you want to beat you want to do better than your peers. And so trying to locate quickly the quickest path to revenue, the cleanest path to revenue, based on kind of archive data on who's bought before. Your TAM, you kind of who you're focusing on. I learned that, and then I also learned that my skill set is closing, is conversion to close. That's where I became a conversion to close specialist. Is I started to realize once you can set yourself up with conversations that are almost the same the door-to-door book thing. It's like, if I can get that part right, so your rebuttals, I hear them ahead of time. Do you know what I mean? And I can guide you through the process. And for me, what I learned was how to discover effectively. Discovery meaning qualifying someone in or out, giving them the option right off the bat to say, I don't think this is a fit. Do you? No, it is not a fit. Great. And in 15 minutes or whatever it is, we get to go about our day and both respect each other. And I've gotten more referrals out of that than anything, because they're like, wow, thank you. And I'm like, well, there's no reason to waste anyone's time. That would be probably the biggest tangible sales skill, was how to artfully discover and how to qualify and unqualify.
Covered some great points there, Mickeli. So diving in a bit deeper, what's more important, discovery or closing?
Discovery. And here's why. If you run your discovery and your qualification path right, everything after that, if you do it right, is fairly effortless. And what I mean by that is, in my discovery, I tell them right up front, I say, we're going to talk for 15 minutes. If there's interest, I'll ask your permission to go 15 minutes more, right? But in this first 15 minutes, I'm going to be kind of selfish. And they go, what does that mean? And I'm like, I'm going to ask you some really direct questions, because after 15 minutes, I want to be able to tell you, I believe we can help you, and look you in the face and mean it, or look you in the face and say, there's just no way that we're either out of scope for your budget. We're either, you know what I mean? Whatever the reason is, we're just not going to be a fit here. And by doing that, everything after that, the next 15 minutes, all about them. They get really, excited. We spend the last 5 building our bench. Like, all right, who do we need to sell? Who do we need to internally sell to get this done? You know what I mean? You can do that in a half hour if you give it up front, being like, I'm going to be selfish up front. A lot of people just tend to respect that. They're like, okay, I get it. Because at the end of the day, I just want to save their time too, right? And it's 15 minutes. Like, you could take that walking down the stairs to your COVID home office. You know what I mean? Everyone's got 15 minutes.
Exactly.
And then after that, the close comes, because you've done all the hard work. You know all the reasons why this is going to stall, or why they're not going to buy in Q3 or whatever. you're prepped for it,
Okay. So is that something you recommend to anyone in business or sales in general? So if you get a new opportunity, let's say it's someone that phones you inbound, could be a LinkedIn message, could be through your website contact form, doesn't matter how the heck it came in, but it's some kind of lead or one of your sales guys could have generated, you could have generated yourself, referral,
Yeah.
whatever. You set an upfront contract initially. So you say, look,
Yes.
I'd like 15 minutes of your time. I'm going to be quite selfish. I'm going to ask you some questions. You might have a few questions for me. And by the end of the 15 minutes, we can decide together whether it makes sense to carry on talking or part ways friends.
Absolutely, man. It's
Got it.
Sandler all over, it's our, it's my personal take on Sandler. You have your personal take, I would believe, but
Sure.
it's about having the confidence and the delivery to do so. And then once you have that buy-in, at least for that next 15 minutes, it's the art of asking questions to obtain the things that you need to have, budget and all those things that no one likes to ask, in a way that doesn't piss them off. You know what I mean?
You got any tips for asking for budget?
Yeah, when I'm asking for, I always say, I'm going to ask you, I say, okay, the direct thing. Because there's a psychology about, like, when you say, I'm going to be selfish, right? People go, but then I don't know, there's like a draw on, because like, what the hell? Like, this isn't the norm. You know what I mean? And then the next is I say, I'm going to ask you about 5 questions based around BANT, budget, authority, timeline, and need. I'm just going to rifle them off. And I need you to answer them as accurate as you possibly can. Because again, I'm trying to save our time. When you do that, people are like, oh, that makes sense. Versus people going, so you got budget for this? You know what I mean? People try and like slide into the budget conversation. I just say it right up front, where I'm going to ask it in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to ask that question. I don't care about your revenue. I don't care about your personal finances or your credit score. I just need it so that I know that if we're in scope or not, especially on enterprise software. Some people think it's like, they think it's a third of the price because they've looked at cheaper options. But when you're talking IBM
Sure.
and Oracle, they're not cheap, so you got to get that out of the way.
I mean, it's an interesting topic of conversation. Obviously, like I said, the Sandler upfront contract I recommend for anyone doing discovery.
Absolutely.
Because it just makes best use of your time as well as the prospects. And means you can be crystal clear on what you're talking about. In terms of budget, it's sometimes a tricky one, as the amount of times people say to me, budget's not an issue. And then you might spend the next day or the next few hours building a proposal for them, building a quote, and then you get to it and they say, yeah, Sam, that was too expensive. I went with a competitor. So it's happened to me so many times that I don't know if you've got techniques, Mickeli, that you'd like to share with our audience. Like, for example, I sometimes use bracketing or things like that. Yep. Or is that,
Well, so one thing that I have learned, and I want to be very clear, we do our virtual conversion to close coaching, and we're certifying onboarding amazing coaches that are better than I ever will be. Dude, that's what I get. I get so excited about that when we get to welcome a new coach, because I'm like, holy smokes, they do things that I would have never thought of. Something that I learned from one of our coaches actually was just saying to them, now I'm going to ask the budget question. Do you have budget allocated for this? And they either say, well, if you could show value, we'll find budget, which obviously isn't true. Or, yeah, we got tons of budget. And I always say, well, then have you done any research? Have you done research on how much a project or how much a investment or whatever like this might cost? Actually, sorry. I always ask, have you ever purchased said software? Have you ever purchased a digital marketing package, whatever you're selling, right? Have you ever paid for virtual sales coaching? Do you have any, have you done any, have you done that before? No. Okay. Have you done any research? Or they say, yes. You know what? Actually, we implemented Salesforce. You're like, okay, perfect. Then I know that they've at least spent 100. I actually shouldn't be saying these numbers, but at least I know they spent this much. Okay.
Sure.
So they at least have that knowledge. And then we can pick apart at that. But if they say no, then I always say, have you done any research on how much a project like this or a purchase like this may cost? And a lot of times they go, a little bit. And then we, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it's kind of the fork in the road. If they say, yes, I have budget, we want to really hit on that. If they say no, then we ask, have you done any research? If they say no to that, then we say, all right, you can expect to invest about, and you always start at your 62%, you always start at like where your profit margin begins, and then you add a little bit and say it could be anywhere from here to here. Have I lost you? Is that, is it time for you to hang up, or are we done here? I would say, are we done here? Does that shock you, or where are you sitting? And they're like, a lot of times they're like, no, that's about what I thought. well, then you're golden, man. And then budgets, now getting that budget approved and making sure that they really do have authority, that's a whole nother art, but that's how I ask for budget, you know?
Excellent. I think the point we're trying to get across to anyone tuning in is not to be afraid to ask for budget in the first call, because ultimately you're making best use of your time and you're not wasting the prospect or the customer's time, because you're not putting a proposal that's 10 times what they've allocated or what they can ever spend on it.
Right.
So yeah, just being real and yeah, making good use of everyone's time. Okay, cool. Good lesson. So moving forward, are there any other experiences before we talk about setting your own company, Mickeli, that you'd like to share with us, that some actionable tips or lessons in your career?
I think the thing about sales that I have learned throughout is, like I said, the credit card debt. I'm not afraid of that anymore. I'm old enough now where it's been paid off for 20 years, so I'm good. But that taught me a lot of lessons. It like I said, it got me out. Not that I loved where I grew up, but it was just I wasn't going to thrive there. It was pre-internet. There just wasn't a lot of, with my few skills, to do there. So I guess what anyone listening to this about sales and what I've learned throughout it is, sales is amazing because, the deeper I got, the higher the tickets, like the IBMs, the Oracles, I realized this, that anyone can do sales, anyone can do it, but it's because it can be taught. So if there's one thing I learned throughout all that stuff, is that sales has always been good to me. It can be good to anyone else that chooses to pursue it, because we all have to sell. We all have to confidently communicate, right? If you can sell, you can make fire with your hands. You'll never go hungry. It'll always support you. But I also learned the beautiful thing about that is that it can be taught. And the people that are really good at it have rehearsed and practiced and worked at it for a long, long time. And that's the thing that I want to pass on, that I learned. Because I thought, oh, I'm so natural, I'm so good. But you're selling $1 million IoT packages, or you're selling $3 million ERP packages. There's a lot more science at that point than there is art. Your art is still there, the natural, I'm likable, but at that level, it comes with heavy training and heavy studying and heavy practicing. And that's when I realized, holy smokes, like, we could teach this to people. Like, we can teach them how to fish. Do you know what I mean? And
Love it. I love that phrase that you've just said as well, that sales can be good to anyone. I completely agree. Like, being in sales is great for myself personally. I know from what I've done, it's enabled me to do a lot of things in terms of supporting a family, being able to purchase houses and X, Y, and Z. I won't get into it too much, but it's definitely something that's blessed when you, like you say, when you put the right activity in, when you invest in yourself, and when you take that time to learn processes and do things in a proper way. But what I want to get to is, we talked about selling multi-million-pound software services then. So what's the difference when selling, let's say, transactional goods? So it could be something that has, I don't know, 1 to 2 week sales cycle. It could be up to £5,000 or $5,000. Mm-hmm. When it comes to selling a service like that, or a software package, whatever it may be, up to that value, up to selling something that's $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, even $1 million, how do things vary? How do the conversations you have with prospects vary to when you're selling a smaller solution to a massive solution, would you say?
Well, the impact on the bottom line, when you're dealing with $1 million, rarely is somebody going to get fired for purchasing something at $5,000 and it didn't work out. You know what I mean? Like, maybe, but you buy the wrong software, you implement the wrong CRM, you not only are you fired, your entire organization, like your key cronies are gone too. So I know that's not what you're looking for, but I just want to level set. Like, that's the truth.
No, it makes sense.
At that level of, well, here's the fundamental difference. At a big ticket kind of thing, the biggest difference is the red tape. It's a different type of sale, okay? Because you're not selling software per se. You are, but you're really not. You're selling the room, right? So, if you're 500,000, 250 on up, actually, I've seen, you can see the multipliers. Now there's 3 decision makers. Now there's 5. Now the controller can sign off. Now the CFO has to sign off. Oh, it's how much? Now the CEO has to, you know what I mean? So sure. That is a whole different sales process and different sales skill set to sell the room, because the software or whatever it is going to sell it. At that point, it's going to sell itself. You're one of the vendors in line. You know what I mean? But you've got to now figure out, what is important to her, and what's important to him, and who are allies and who are foes. Do you know what I mean? And really, really putting everyone together. It's like team selling. You know what I'm saying? When you have like we do now, like under we'll say under $20,000 packages. I've been selling these for the last quite a while. It's a different type of sale. It's not any easier. It's just less time, because you don't have 30 people that you got to appease, and you don't have to wait for 3 procurement cycles. A VP of this, a VP of that, a VP of that. Like that takes that's why it's 12-month sales cycles for these big deals. But for the smaller ones, the thing about the smaller ones I've learned is I still need to know the key decision makers, because the second you think you got them, it's some board member that I didn't know that guy. So knowing all of the key decision makers, finding out what is most important to them, obviously still the deal, but really going all in on your champion. Do you know what I mean? Like you kind of take the champion ladder when you're in big enterprise, because this person only has so much sway, then this person has more than this person. But when you're talking about that deal, you're talking probably to 1 or 2 shades away from the actual decision maker. And so your champion and your relationship with that champion is extremely important. And that's why I love these types of sales, because it's more relationship based. It's on a personal level. And I really do want you to succeed, and I want you to get your way. You know what I mean? And then you get to go to battle. That sounds terrible, but you know what I mean? You get to go to battle. Let's call it what it is. Yeah, you get to go to battle with them side by side, because they've got to convince this person and then that person, and we get to do that together. At enterprise, it's a little less. You're kind of tiers out. You know what I mean? So that would be the biggest thing. But I really enjoy the small tickets, and they're harder. I think they're harder sales than enterprise.
Interesting.
Granted, I've done enterprise for 15 years, so there's that. But I find it harder because it's more personal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm much like you. I like things to move fast. I'm not that patient. So yeah, I like quicker sales cycle. That's kind of why what I do with digital marketing. And I mean, it keeps me
less
on edge.
red tape too, right?
And I appreciate that wasn't an easy question. So I did catch you quite off guard, and that is quite a very, very open question. So I think you handled that pretty well. And like you say,
Awesome.
It's essentially enterprises, a heck of a lot more decision makers involved, whereas more transactional sales, kind of 5, 10K or less, tend to be a lot faster, because you're dealing with less people. You've got less hurdles to overcome, I guess.
But I wouldn't say that either one is easier than the other, because I've sold both now. I don't know a lot of people that have had the success I've had at enterprise, and then equally the same at SMB. And that sounds pompous now that I say it out loud, but from a coaching standpoint, we coach people on all levels, right? And that level of and a lot of our coaches do too. That level of experience is key when you're coming up to these smaller sales, because enterprise people come on down and they go, if I can sell this, I can nail this. Not the case. It's just like, why are BDRs so good at prospecting, but some of them can't close? And why are AEs, so good at closing, but can't prospect anymore? It's a skill set, and you have to sharpen that blade every single day. And selling into SMBs for a $5,000 to $10,000 spike, that's not any easier than enterprise. It's just how are you learning? Like what are you hearing every day to get better and better and better? It's just like sports. It's like anything,
Nice, man. Okay. No, I like it. So moving on, let's talk a bit about your business now. If you could share with us a bit more about why you set it up and how you've been able to grow it, how you've acquired customers in terms of the channels, whether you had a line of customers knocking at your door saying, Mickeli, please hire me, or whether you had to go out and hunt for those, or the channels you used to make it happen, man.
Yeah. I'll just give you a little background on the business, and then we'll go through how we acquire new clients. The business started about actually, you probably know more than I do. I haven't read my resume in a while, but whatever, let's say 5 years ago, where I left. I was kind of we turned another territory. This one happened to be at IBM. Great money, the whole deal. The you know what I mean? You get celebrated and all that stuff. And it just was a point where I'm like, I don't really want to be a middle manager. There's no more. I've done this now 4 or 5 times, same exact thing, and it's been good, but it's like, I want to do something different. And we could, at the time we could. We were very blessed with a good run there. And so we started a fractional VP. Well, it actually started, I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just wanted to check that box. I had no business plan at all. In fact, the name of the company was Bedore Business Group, BBG, which was my last name. So the whole thing, but it was my first go. And what it morphed into was a fractional VP of sales outfit. So we took mostly professional service companies, about 2 to 10 million. We would come in there, we'd blow up their revenue, and then they would end up, we'd help them get acquired by private equity firms. That was great, but it was unscalable. And so I just got burnt out. We couldn't scale. And if, until we took them to acquisition, it could be 3 years, so you had it's like 3 VP sales jobs at the same time. It was like me and 3 other guys. I just got burnt out. One day I couldn't get out of bed. And so I thought, I'm going to go and just go back to just enterprise sales. But then what happened in between was we started a podcast called Coffee&Closers, which has become the joy of my life, where we get a chance. That's how we connected, to interview top sales minds. And what we do is we share those top sales minds. We invite top sales level people from across the country, as well as people new to sales, entrepreneurs, makers, technicians, people that have to sell now. They don't know how, and they really don't want to. And we kind of make a community called our Closers Community, in which all those people can celebrate together, share their struggles, help each other out. And then how we make money is 2 new offerings that our team, when I was selling, I took a year off to go to NetSuite and sell. They built up an amazing company in my absence. Very smart people, very operational. My wife leads it and led it for the last year. And I came, as of last month or 2, been beta testing our virtual close coaching, which is all conversion based. So people's territories, their leads, whatever they have, as soon as that first call discovery is there, we're on it, and we help those people. We coach them to help close those deals quicker and faster. And then our other thing, like I told you, is our end-to-end offering, which is it starts with sales qualified leads that our marketing team sets people up with, and then the same deal, those conversion specialists come in and help people bring those to close. That's how we make money today, and sponsorships, I guess. But really passionate about helping the next step, man. That's awesome. Probably, if you were to say, what is your passion? I want to empower everybody, anyone and everyone, with the ability and the skill set to be able to, confidently tell your story, have the confidence to ask for the business, you know what I mean, and make a better lives for themselves.
Sure. On that note, is there any strategy or any process that you recommend anyone that's tuning into this and thinking, I literally hate selling, like talking to people about trying to sell my product is the worst thing. It literally sends shivers down my spine and breaks me into a cold sweat. Is there any material, anything you can suggest to people, or even a process that's like the best first step? Like you could say, look, if I did this in my first year of selling, I would have sold 10 times what I did now, that you can recommend to them to get them on the right footing?
Yeah. Yes. Number one, though, it's mindset. So I can tell you, but number one, it has to be mindset. It's like this. If like everyone wants to be in shape, but nobody wants to go to the gym. You know what I mean? Like if you're out of shape, the last place you want to go is to the gym. You don't want to get shamed. You don't want to sweat. You don't want to be exhausted, but you want to be in shape. So how are you going to get there? There's only one way. Go to the gym, right? It's the same way with sales. Because we deal with our clients, a lot of them are new to sales, like so corporations, or a lot of them are 20 employees or 5 employees on down, fresh startups, and they're like, I don't want to sell, and I go, all right, how about this? Tell me about your product, and they geek out. It's like, oh, there's this new restaurant, man. This restaurant's great. You got to go check this out. Guess what you're doing? You're passionate about this thing that you're telling me about, and asking me and inspiring me to go there to check it out myself. So if you can flip your mindset to say, oh, wait, I have something that either I have something that nobody else has access to, right? I'm very passionate about it. They have a problem. Like we invented this for that problem, or someone invented it that I'm in charge of selling to for that problem, and I know this can help them. Well, then it's your duty to get off your ass and go have a conversation with as many people that have that need. That's not selling. Like that's the greater good, man. You know what I mean? Like if you saw somebody, I don't know, like sick, or like if you had a magic pill that could help somebody on the ground, sick and doing the whole deal, and you knew that as soon as they took that pill, it would help them. Like, you know what I mean? You're not gonna introduce yourself. You're not gonna give them that pill, right? Like, but everyone looks at sales that way. They're the opposite. They go, I don't want to sell. Well, you have to, because you have something that I may want in better my life, but I don't know about it. If you know what I mean? So pick up the phone and call me up. But the other thing is what I have found as far as, so once you can get to that mindset, I have found when we do our prospecting activities is I want to look at all, if it's a brand new startup, doubtful are you the first person to invent a CRM? Doubtful are you the first person to start a digital marketing agency? You know what I mean? So what's your niche? Who's doing it exactly like you, right? Copy what they're doing. Who are they targeting, right? All those types of things. Pick, like Brandon said on our podcast was, pick your niche to get rich, is
Sure.
find an industry, find a geography, find a whatever that you have had success in, whether at your current company or at past companies that you've had success. You can speak the language, you get it, right? And then craft a message in an outreach campaign that speaks to directly that, personalized. You know what I'm saying? Like, as not personalized like to their life, but as personalized as you can get about them. But most importantly, the specific pain that they're going through. Like you guys in GDRP, right? If you had to solve for GDRP, especially considering cold email outreach and all that kind of stuff, you guys are probably like, let me talk about GDRP. I have a hunch that you're probably dealing with that right now. Yes, I am. Oh, and you can go direct to that. Say, here's what we're doing and here's what we've done it for. And the reason I know this will work for you is because we've got these cats right here that we did it for, X amount of time and the results were off the hook. We can help you. Are you open to hearing more? Again, not selling, you're educating. It's a fundamental difference,
Nice. So some top tips just there. So how to sell if you hate selling. So I'm sure there's many tuning in that do. Cool, man. So what channels are you guys using to generate business? Is it mainly through the podcast, or is it a lot of cold outreach, like cold calling, cold email with cadences, or are you having success with digital marketing channels?
Yeah, the reason I took a pause there is because we've been beta testing everything. We've got a really great operational. One of our business partners we brought in as our COO has helped take a couple companies to acquisition. One of his last got acquired by Goldman Sachs, and he is a huge fan of all things digital. But I want to try, so I guess that our process where we've kind of ended up right now is we want to invite everyone to come and join us for our podcast. The podcasts are fun. They're free. In a lot of places, we have viewing parties, so you can go and hang out with other people in that community and then watch it on the big screen. It's a lot of fun. Those people sign up, and at that point, we ask them a couple questions, like if they'd ever be open to this or that. Sometimes we get 10, sometimes we get 100 people that are looking for what we offer, and then we get a chance to ask for their permission to educate them more. That has been huge. And so our whole campaigns have just been inviting people to the program. No sales, no nothing. Just saying, hey, it's COVID. You guys might be looking for ways to grow revenue in a crazy time. Here's a show we do. Here's past guests. It's a lot of fun. It's virtual or on site, whatever you prefer. Great community people. Come on down. And that we have found to be the most effective. But how we're reaching them is through every channel you can think of. We're doing ads on whatever. We're doing ads on LinkedIn has been our salespeople, that. I mean, LinkedIn is magic for us, and some other channels that we use, but cold outreach also. And our cold is inviting them, right? Just invitation. And it's been working great.
Nice, man. So using a range of channels to invite people to your free events. So where you interview sales leaders and basically give them value on all things selling. And I guess then from there, you're getting inbound leads and working them through on what you offer.
Yeah, and the cadence is like, maybe you can give me advice on this. Like, we haven't twisted that yet, where it's like, come on, hey, Sam, come on down. Here's what we got, here's what it is. Based on your position and people we've helped in the past, a lot of folks in your seat find value in this. Maybe you don't. And if not, that's okay. Here's our newsletter, here's our stuff, and we leave them alone. And then next month, or usually give them like a month break, go, hey, maybe the last one didn't work out. I didn't hear from you, so whatever. And we invite them. There's never any like, by the way, here's some hokey sales crap that I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Like if they're not interested in viewing, you know what I mean, joining something fun, then they're probably not interested in what we offer at the moment, and that's okay.
Love it, dude. Excellent. We've covered some great ground. We've learnt your story. We've learnt your top selling tips in terms of qualification, discovery calls, and how to uncover the mysterious budget that no one ever really wants to give you, but we all really need it, and how to sell even if you hate selling. plus your ways that you've grown your business. So thanks very much for coming on, man. I like to
Absolutely.
ask everyone that comes on, if you could thank just one person, either dead or alive, for being a positive influence on yourself or your career, who would that be and why?
I would say my Uncle John. My Uncle John was the guy who was slinging frozen pizzas. Not a sexy job to most people, but to him, it was like he was selling Rolls Royces. I mean, he just showed up to work every day with a smile on his face. He also was a fourth degree black belt in Taekwondo, so he taught me Taekwondo. So he was a master sensei, so I got to get my black belt also. And I play music still to this day because my Uncle John played music. You know what I mean? It was at right time, right place. He was a lot younger. He was the youngest, I think, brother of my dad. And like I said, my dad had a lot of uncles and aunts. So he was just a little bit older than me, and he was super cool. And he taught me sales. He taught me how to do it, what it was. You know, this thing that I was getting in trouble for school. I was getting in trouble for school, doing exactly what salespeople do at the time, pre-internet. You go out and you chum and you go for lunch. And I was like, this is amazing. And honestly, if it weren't for that ride along, that one ride along, because he kept asking me, I always said no. And then I'm like, I got nothing better to do. Let's go. And I discovered what this craft and this art is. I honestly don't know where I would be. So there's been a lot of inspirations through my life, but I would say I owe a lot to that man because he's given me this great life.
Can relate to that quite a bit, actually, man. I guess that old saying, "It's not what you know, it's who you know," comes into play. Because I know my cousins helped me a lot in a very similar way in terms of connecting me to different roles. I even co-direct this company now, so I can relate to that a heck of a lot.
That's your cousin. Man. Okay, you mentioned your cousin.
Yeah. So he's a co-director of the company. No, that's cool, man. Well, everyone, you've been tuning into Sam's Business Growth Show, where we sit down with business leaders, experts, and entrepreneurs from around the globe. We find out their story, how digital marketing's helped along the way, and their exclusive tips and insights to help you skyrocket your sales and your business. Mickeli, tell us a bit more about your company, how people can learn from you, and how people can get in touch with your good self.
Absolutely. Well, as I said, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active. It's Mickeli. Bedore. I'm sure Sam will have that for you. Please check out closersmedia.com. We are in phase 2.0 of our product launches, our new website. We're going to be having an archive of past episodes, some micro doses of education, as well as some of our coaches and our partners are going to be blogging and giving that kind of stuff. And if you're interested and you're consider yourself a top salesperson, also reach out. We'd love to talk to you and have you apply and see if you'd be our next conversion or our close coach.
Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Absolutely, brother. It was a pleasure, true pleasure.
Are you tired of constantly hunting for new customers? You could be missing out on regular inbound opportunities, all because your website isn't on the first page of Google. Perhaps you're already spending lots of money on advertising, but your website is failing to convert all of your hard-earned visitors into a consistent flow of new customers. If you'd like to learn more about our unusual approach that brings idle clients straight to you, connect with Sam Dunning on LinkedIn or book a free 20-minute consultation via webchoiceuk.com. That's webchoiceuk.com. Subscribe today for more digital marketing, sales, and business growth tips from the experts.